You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is 0 Dark 30 blasting out of the bunker. Whew, what a day it's going to be, folks. Every day has its challenges. But I tell you what, some people will never get over them. Okay, so F Joe Biden and his voters. Well, folks, I talk to you a lot about standing up for yourself, standing up for others, free speech, America, our constitutional rights, our God-given, and we have to do our own guaranteeing of those rights in the Declaration of Independence. It's our world. Are we just going to let someone else steal it from us? Well, as I've told you guys, I'm down in the South, and it sure feels good. People here aren't afraid to stand up and speak their mind, even if they're in the political minority, meaning they're outvoted by dimwits. So, there's a fella, and I'm going to use him as an example. He lives in Louisiana, and in this small town in Louisiana where he works, he's been pulled over by the police and ticketed 7 times because of a local obscenity law. A local obscenity law. Because he had flags in his truck as he would drive around. One of them said, fuck Joe Biden and fuck you for voting for him. A sentiment I really know that a vast number of Americans appreciate, support, and even respect. Well, the man took them to court over these seven tickets. And he sued the city. He won. Was awarded $40,000. And the city is removing the ordinance. There's a lot of lessons in this story, folks. A lot of lessons, I think, that are important. And there is no most important lesson. If someone wanted to drive around with a screw Trump and the horse you rode in on flag, I think that'd be fine. Do what you want. But they can't have it the other way. So things like this demonstrate the hypocrisy. And I think that's important because even children recognize hypocrisy. And they don't appreciate it. And they don't value it. And they'll argue with their parents. I love loud rap music in the middle of the night. It makes me happy. It makes me wonder if I'm about to have someone bust a cap in my ass. Anyways, here we are. And someone's getting their ass pulled over back there. Good. Way back there, way in the back. Okay, back to the video at hand. So what do we got going on here? People have had enough. People feel this strongly about it. The court agreed and said, hey, look, it's time to stand up. Now, just as quickly and easily as this court said, you know what? You can't tell a man what he can and can't fly and what political speech he can and can't have and when and where he can't say it, with, of course, very little restrictions that make sense, that are time-honored, and apply and appeal to the intellect. Like you can't go to a judge's house and stand outside with a bullhorn and scream and yell at them all night long and keep them awake and threaten them. Right? That makes sense. That's not quite free speech. It's more like harassment and intimidation. So, here we are. A judge could just as easily have said, you can't say those things. It's offensive. And the city's ordinance respecting other people's right not to be offended and obscenity laws are just fine. And it could go either way. And that's what we're going to have to probably take a close look at, is these things are going to continue to happen. These fights, these battles, these cases. We're going to continue to have all of these fights. And it could go either way with regard to government trying to stand up and do its job properly, and of course other government trying to shout us down. Ultimately, though, it's going to come down to us. It is up to us to stand up for ourselves. It's the way it has always been. And there's just layers of it. Once again, there's public speech, being able to say what you want, then voting, then participation in government. And if that doesn't work, right, then we end up where we're at today, nearing and getting closer to violent conflict. Now, I was speaking with a friend last night, and this story kind of coincides with the story that I read about the judge. The HOA that was being discussed with me, Homeowners Association, that a friend has, now has a policeman that attends a little HOA, right? They've got, 300-400 units at this, units or houses, whatever you want to call them, within this HOA. They can't get their story straight. They can't get it together. They're charging way too much money, and they've become authoritative. And they threw out there that they're going to stop people from wearing certain bathing suits at the pool. Well, that sounds pretty typical, right? Well, yeah, we need to be more conservative, and we don't really want to see people's butt cracks. And I get it. Well, question I have is where does it stop? I mean, where does decency begin and where does lunacy end? Does it end with the butt crack? So I said, and this person was arguing for it. They're like, yeah, it's an older HOA, an older neighborhood, older people, and they probably don't like thong bikinis and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand the point, but what about people who have really large asses? And I was being, I wasn't being rude or anything, just being honest. People with really big butts, and some bathing suits are smaller. And what if it goes up that person's butt? Does someone jump up out of the bushes at the pool and go write them a ticket? And what if the HOA says, look, you've got to wear burqas. We don't like any skin showing. We're now going to require everyone in the HOA and the association to wear burqas. And I was told, don't be ridiculous. And I said, I'm not being ridiculous. If you can tell people they have to put on a little, you can tell them to put on a lot. Cover everything. And so we went, oh yeah, that's an argument. That's a legitimate argument to make. And so you can have these discussions, except at this HOA meeting, and there's a whole lot more they got problems with that they need a policeman there, trust me, after hearing these stories. It comes down to when people won't be reasonable, when common sense doesn't prevail, and when people are being financially hurt. There's a combination of things there that can overwhelm and result in violence. And here we are today. People are so fed up with the Democrats. Their demands to steal our liberties, shut us up, silence our speech, take away our guns, punish us obsessively and excessively, right? As in old ladies going to jail for standing in front of an abortion clinic. A Christian man being arrested for praying at an abortion clinic. And if you want obscene, try a church that blesses a bunch of perverted sodomites dressing as, well, satanic nuns. That's obscene. And look out, folks. And I say, hey, you want to dress like that? Go ahead. But you're going to end up taking some heat. Ultimately, you're going to get a lot of heat. But I digress. The point of the matter, or the issue I think that's at hand here is people right now are hurt financially. They're scared. They're afraid. They're concerned about their country, their countrymen. When we've got an invasion down south, when they're trying to start World War III, you've got all these things that add up. And then you bring in the economy. You look at the threats that our food supply, our infrastructure, our electricity are suffering. And then you see, I can see the conflict coming. The conflict, political conflict. And what's interesting is the Democrats were way ahead of this, way ahead of us, you and I, back in 2016 when they started calling for the death of Trump, who hadn't done anything yet. At that point, we still didn't have the child trans grooming movement exposed publicly. And the Democrats were screaming literally for his head. Right? And I remind you of Kathy Griffin's little bloody effigy stunt. It wasn't until years later, and even after these pervasive lockdowns, that conservative Americans finally started saying, okay, that's it, we've had enough. Right? We've had enough of this shit. Fuck Joe Biden. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going to get to. But it starts with your free speech and you taking action. Get prepared, folks. Get prepared and know that there's a lot of good people out there who are going to stand up, who are standing up, who will continue to stand up. Many will get arrested. A lot will be assaulted. And that is the world that we live in. Hiding from it will just make it worse. And if you want it fixed sooner rather than later, taking action now. Call, write, text all your friends, family, loved ones. Tell them to wake up, participate in everything. Stop hiding. Stop saying it's someone else's problem to deal with. We need to wake up, red pill, everyone we can. Everyone we can. We need to, find out who the warriors are and who sits on the sidelines and is willing to lick the boot of whoever says they're in charge. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed. Semper Fi.